The Burros of Berea is a conversational podcast.
We study the Bible and we talk about it.
Not all of us are of the same faith.
And one of us doesn't have a faith.
But we still love one another, and we're going to continue to talk about these things.
The things we believe in and the things we believe about what we read in the Bible. Not all of these are necessarily true. Some of it is opinion and speculation. Thank you for
listening and speculating with us.
There you go. That was good. Yes.
You are listening to the Burros of Berea.
Hey, everybody, it's Andy. Just a quick note that we don't really talk about these items very much, but this was recorded before the hurricane, the election, and Sarita was sworn in. All right, everybody. Thank you.
Well, welcome back to the Burros of Berea. I'm Rick Welch. To my left is the Honorable Sarita, the Edgerton.
We are less than 8 weeks from Election Day.
How about that? And you're swearing in, and how long?
9 weeks.
9 weeks.
Less than 9 weeks.
Less than 9 weeks. Wow. Behind the glass, Rocket Man Andy Bishop. Straight out of Compton, Ralph Hicks.
Represent.
Charlton R. Carter III. Or should I say, Big Daddy Carter.
Oh, yeah.
So now you know his name.
Yeah.
Charlton Richard Carter III. How about that?
Is he in trouble?
Apparently.
No. Andrew Aaron Bishop.
Hey.
AAB. See?
I know, weird initials, right? AAB.
AAB.
How do we, yeah, whatever.
Sarita, what's your middle name? Sarita?
Lee?
Sarita Lee Edgerton. How about you, Ralph?
Michael.
Ralph Michael or Michael Ralph?
Now, if it was Michael Ralph, then I would have been an MR in school. So I got lucky.
Well,
sort of lucky. I had the name Ralph.
I think I told you guys, though, my middle name is Joe, and it was a nickname that was given to my mother's uncle named Ralph. So I could have been Ricky Ralph, but instead they call me Ricky Joe.
Yeah, Ricky Joe's better.
Yeah.
Ricky Ralph is just, that's
Flows off the tongue
something.
better.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law is Ricky Dale.
What's he doing?
Dale.
Ricky's Ralphing.
Ricky Ralph.
Ricky Ralph.
Little Ricky.
Man, well, we're back in the studio, and after that last episode, we started talking about all kinds of stuff, and I was getting, very frustrated, which is okay, because we're just trying to read it for what we read it as and not using all of the things that we've already been taught, because, it's easy to do that. We can all, we've done that before. So this is going to be, I don't know anything about the Hebrew language. I don't know anything about the structures, like chiastic structure. I didn't know anything about it. There's so many things that I don't know. So what I want to tell the audience now is that please just bear with us. Go through this with us as we try to wrestle with this with our own modern thinking American minds, and then with our best ability with what we've read in the scripture. And then when we get to the end of this, I have a feeling that we're going to go back into some of this more. I think we'll probably dig deeper, but with the things that we do know. But for right now, we're just going to try to come at this just honest, just with what we got. Just what we got.
Well, a lot of times I don't go looking at something, and once I get to a point where I don't understand it, I'm looking for inspiration, because sometimes things are heavy and you have a lot of studying to do. So it's like I try to pull inspiration, and it's from Daniel 3 that I pull inspiration.
Well, so with that in mind, I'm going to read this. Were you using the ESV? Okay, good, because I'm going to read out of the ESV.
Okay.
And I'm only going to read down to verse 7. So let's start with Daniel chapter 3, verse 7. And it says, King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits, and its breadth 6 cubits. He set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Then King Nebuchadnezzar sent to gather the satraps, the prefects, and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the justices, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then the satraps, the prefects, and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the justices, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces gathered for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And the herald proclaimed aloud, You are commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, you are to fall down and worship the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall immediately be cast into a burning fiery furnace. Therefore, as soon as all the peoples heard the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, all the peoples, nations, and languages fell down and worshipped the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up.
I got a question. When did the Irish show up?
The Irish?
Is that the Irish or the English?
What are you talking about?
The bagpipes.
Oh, I don't know. Is it the bagpipe? I don't know.
It could be that. Yeah, it could be that was invented before the Irish, and we just associate it with the Irish. I mean, anything's possible, right?
Yeah, I'm feeling that these first 7 verses, that there's something going on with the way that the author continuously he says the things over and over, like when he's like the magistrates and the counselors and this, and it's weird. It's like, so he sent together the satraps and the prefects and the governors and the counselors and the treasurers and the justices, the magistrates and all the officials of the provinces, for the dedication. Then the satraps, the prefects, the magistrates, the justices, like he instead of just saying, and all of them did this, he says it again, right? Do you follow what I mean? Is that just like a Hebrew thing, you think?
He was a Levite.
This was Aramaic. It was written in Aramaic.
Maybe. I mean,
is this chiastic too? Mini chiastic?
I don't. Maybe a mini chiastic structure, but I think he is wanting us to understand that it was everybody.
Everybody.
It is everybody. It wasn't just a few of them. It wasn't just a few governors here or there. It was everybody, and everybody they represented.
So when you were doing your study on the introduction for Daniel, whereabouts does chapter 3 land? Is this still when Daniel's 20? Or is this later? Because this is going to be the fiery furnace part. So this isn't the lion's den.
Well, isn't this right after chapter 2, not far after chapter 2, because he got a big head and he was starting to get into himself, and that's when he stared believing that he was great again.
Well, I don't know. That's what I wanted to find out.
And then built this. I mean, it probably took a while to build it, but I think this would have been,
he knows he's the head of gold.
After that, right.
He knows that God's made him the man, and he knows eventually he's going to fall, maybe not in his lifetime. But so he's setting up this image, which is kind of bizarre. You think that, I guess this is where he's going to learn the lesson from Daniel, because, he just said that Daniel's God is the God of all, right?
So there's got to be some time between when that was done, when that was said.
Yeah.
And when this happens, because we're introduced to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego here. But the chiastic structure on this is whatever this chapter is, 3 coordinates with 6.
Okay.
As far as protection, but it doesn't give a time period as
okay,
far
so that
as
makes
I
sense
can
about
see.
protection. Okay.
So, and then I would assume that Daniel 6 is the lion's den story, protection.
Right.
Right. So, I don't really know.
Daniel's in position number 2. It just said he made him the second most powerful man in all of Babylon.
And then he gave it up.
What do you mean?
It says, and Daniel made a request and appointed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the province of Babylon, and he stayed at the king's court.
When does it say that?
That's the very last verse of chapter 2.
Did I miss that?
I read it.
Well, let me get my brain.
It's even
Daniel made a
talked about
request of the king, and he appointed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon. But Daniel remained at the king's court.
Daniel wanted to stay right next to Nebuchadnezzar for whatever reason.
Okay, so he didn't give it up. It seems like he stays in the king's court as the position number 2. I don't know that he gave it up. He's just putting them over the affairs.
To me, it seems like he didn't want to go to wherever that location was, so he sent them so he could stay next to the king. That's the way I interpreted it.
Okay.
But I could be just reading my own thing into it. But
Yeah.
he was given rule. So he's going to make him the ruler, but he didn't do that. So he stayed back. And I'm curious as to why. The Bible never really tells us why he stayed back.
So the way that I'm seeing this is that all of the men that had been in power with, like whoever was, we don't know who second in command was under Nebuchadnezzar that Daniel replaced.
And if there was such a person.
Right. And we don't know if there were other people over the affairs of Babylon at the time either. So it's quite possible
Well, that's what a satrap and a governor is.
Right.
And a prefect.
When
And
does-
he made him prefect.
All right, so when
Chief
does
prefect.
I'm sorry to,
chief prefect.
Yeah, see, chief prefect in verse 48. He made him chief prefect over all the wise men. So then it goes and talks about the prefects, the governors, the counselors, the satraps. A satrap was
Yes.
higher than a governor.
Chief prefect over the wise men of Babylon. Okay. Yes, Rick?
Maybe he could keep an eye on him if he's in the court.
the question would, it's an interesting perspective
another
because I
thing.
was thinking, when does Ezra come in this? Is that quite a few years later?
Yeah.
Ezra? You mean Ezekiel?
No, Ezra. Ezra is going to be the one that goes back and builds the temple.
Well, you've
That
got
was Nehemiah.
Nehemiah builds the wall.
Oh, okay.
you bring a good point that we're talking about who was it not Haman? Who was the gentleman that got that in the story of Esther?
Mordecai. Oh, so you said Esther. You said Ezra. You meant Esther?
Was it Ezra? I'm terrible.
Esther is where Haman and Mordecai and all them come up. It's another recapitulation of a man going in second position under the Persian king.
Well, you bring up a good point. And there was huge disdain, and there was a connection from another study by Bob Cruikshank about Mordecai. I'm curious if the replacement of whoever was in second command of Nebuchadnezzar has a connection to that family of Mordecai.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So like if it was Haman, if Haman was in second place, but then Mordecai replaces him. So who is the one that's under Nebuchadnezzar? We don't know. It doesn't say, but I hadn't picked up on chief prefect. So you caught that, Sarita. So that's good. So he's made the chief prefect. And so he is.
So that becomes.
And because he knows that they can't be trusted, he stays behind to protect the king. I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds right. It sounds like Game of Thrones move, and that also sounds like he put Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon, which is the headquarters of the entire empire.
I mean, that's kind of hard
So
for one man to do.
He's watching everything. Like he's over everything now. But then Nebuchadnezzar gets this wise idea to start building an idol for himself, right?
Which is something probably
and that's something that they've done in politics forever. Somebody gets elected to office, they bring the people in that they trust.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, they build a cabinet.
Oh, I've been told don't trust anybody. So that's where I'm going.
Yeah. Welcome to South Carolina House of Representatives. I love it.
That, what is it? I never can remember that hive of villainy and scum and villainy.
What is that from?
Is that from Star Wars when they go into the bar?
Yes, that is Star Wars.
Yeah, we talked about that in one of our
Bar
sessions.
All
Bar
right.
scene. So you don't know if he's. Where did I go with that one?
I don't know.
You were talking about Nebuchadnezzar and building the idol. The one thing we don't know is most of those how paganistic Nebuchadnezzar and his were. I guess they were very because he builds an idol.
Well, we don't tell you. They don't tell us either what happened to the guy that was in that place before. Did he get cast out? Did he just get demoted, or what? Because we know what happened when Mordecai took over.
This episode is brought to you by Supply Chain Solutions.
Supply Chain Solutions is a third-party logistics company providing small to mid-sized businesses an outsourcing option focusing on warehouse management, customization of products, assembly, and packaging of goods, and has the ability to meet business-to-business and business-to-consumer fulfillment needs. Supply Chain Solutions continually strive to be their customers' most highly valued partners for quality, delivery, responsiveness, and customer service. To learn more about Supply Chain Solutions, you can visit their website at www.supplychainsolutions3pl.com. That's www.supplychainsolutions3pl.com.
And now back to the show.
All right. So the timeline, I do actually kind of have a timeline. So in Daniel 3, they're 19 to 20 years old. So it's not very far. Daniel 2, he's 17. Daniel 1, he's 15. So he's not very far from when he started. And then we're going to jump in Daniel 4 till he's like, there's some time. So 45 to 50.
Yeah.
So there's some time. So he's still young. It's not that far from where we just were, maybe 2 years.
Okay.
So they could build a statue in 2 years.
Yeah, Nebuchadnezzar could get, in his mind, I guess, He's got control of Daniel and all of his guys. He's got the God of gods on lock, and so now he knows he's the gold man, right?
So I might as well act like it.
So I might as well go ahead and throw up my
got the
golden
whole
statue.
world.
Yep. All right, so let's go on to verse 8. Therefore, at that time, certain Chaldeans came forward and maliciously accused the Jews. They declared to King Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. You, O king, have made a decree that every man who hears the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast into a burning fiery furnace. Did it say that in the first?
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
But
Something
I don't-
about a fiery furnace.
It
Did
never
we read
said
the same
it.
thing twice?
It never said it in the first 7 verses.
Yes, it did.
Where?
Verse 6.
Let's see. Let me see. Verse 6. And whoever does not fall down and worship. Yep, you're right. So that is a complete, it's saying it all over again. There are certain Jews whom you have appointed over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, pay no attention to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. Now, this is a very interesting response. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in furious rage, commanded. Now, what's the change? Is he like every other man? Is he getting a hard heart?
Well, he's got this thing built to himself, and so he's now thinking that he's above everyone and everything.
I mean, yeah, but he just said that he's got the
What's
God of
funny
gods.
is it wasn't every Jew. It was certain Jews.
Just the ones
it
in
was
power.
The 3.
It was the ones that Daniel had put in power.
It was those 3 who
They don't
So,
like being ruled over by
whoever
the Jews.
else they brought with them.
Uh-huh. Oh,
And
yeah,
by
they
the-
brought more than 3.
So
4.
they were all bowing down, but these guys are like, not doing it, not gonna do it, not.
And these were the
gonna
ones
do it.
that he had put over the province.
Mm-hmm.
So
There's got to be some a significant amount, and this is why I was asking about the connection, because now you have a motive of malice against the Jews, because now they've been placed into a hierarchy level when they came from literally nothing.
yeah, it always happens.
Well, I'm going to be too. How dare you? I lift you up to this, and then you won't do this as everyone else has done and as I've commanded?
Well, it also could go back to the ego thing. All these guys, the satraps, the governors,
Oh,
the
king, live
prefects,
forever.
look what they're doing. They're not doing what they're supposed to,
Or
king. And
does
he
he-
brings their attention to it. And he gets if he doesn't do something about these 3 upstarts who are disobeying the law, the rule that he made, if he doesn't do something about it, he's feckless.
Nebuchadnezzar is bipolar.
Aren't we all?
I think so. But I'm just
You're
saying.
hot and you're cold.
He falls on his face on the ground.
Worships
He's so
the God.
impressed about what Daniel's God could do. You have the God of all gods, and puts him in power. Then Daniel puts his friends in power. You give it a little bit of time, and then Nebuchadnezzar has suddenly got this power trip again.
You know, I just listened to a podcast on this whole thing that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's when things are rough, you bow down and you'll do anything. Mm-hmm. Or when things are good, when you get it, you'll bow down and do anything. But then when things are going your way and you're in charge and everything, you start thinking, well, I did this, not God, I did this. And that's when we fall away. So it's in those times that you can judge a person by, all right,
it's
things are going well, and they're
human
thinking,
nature to
now
be
they're
that
thinking,
way, right?
it's me, not God. Yeah, okay. And that's where I think he's doing at this point. And could he be thinking, oh, so you guys are as big as me now?
Mm-hmm. So I give you a little bit of power and then you don't follow.
Right.
That's what we're going to do. You're going to rise up. So now we're going to follow what you guys say. You're not going to follow what I say. So that is a problem.
And if they do it and I don't, it's like your child.
Yep.
If I let one of my children run out into the road, are the other one's going to run out on the road, or am I going to go punish the one
Well, yeah,
for not
because
running out on the road, or they'll all die?
one spark can create a fire
That's
that can destroy the
correct.
whole village. So he's got to
So the next time the bow down happens, it's not 3 of them, it's 6.
right.
Because courage begets courage.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to squash that nonsense.
That's a huge flip in from chapter 3, where, or is it 2?
Yeah.
We're on 3.
We're on 3.
All right, and from chapter 2, when Nebuchadnezzar actually bowed down before Daniel, and now he's asking them to bow down before him.
Yep.
It's a huge.
He just decided to make the statue himself,
Yep.
basically.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to make the whole thing gold,
He's
and I'm
not
going to live
afraid of it.
forever.
started
not
feeling it
afraid
was
of it
him
anymore.
and not God
Well,
anymore.
Well, I'm going to live forever. It's not just the head that's gold now, it's the entire statue is gold.
Yeah.
and
He's just like, I'm just going to skip all the other empires together, and I'm
now,
going to rule forever.
if he'd have done the bowing down in front of all the people, then they would have seen something that would have probably never come into question. If Nebuchadnezzar would have bowed before Daniel, if it would have been in front of the same progression and confessed what he confessed.
Is it possible, because there's no time statement whatsoever in that dream, that Nebuchadnezzar could have gotten the wrong idea about it? So he knows he's the gold because Daniel's has told him that. But
Maybe he's going to help God, like
He's gonna
Abraham and
speed it
Sarah
up.
did with
Yeah, yeah,
Hagar.
yeah.
I'm going to help God.
We're going to speed
Make
it.
me
right.
make me the person that everybody looks to.
Yep.
He forgets about the part where something comes and crashes it down and becomes
Right.
dust and it's blown away and not remembered.
Yeah, or do you think it's possible that in his mind that all of this could happen over the next 50 years and maybe he's the rock that's going to destroy
That's a good-
everything and
that's
build
a
a
good-
mountain?
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
Maybe he's trying to rush this along. Interesting.
Don't we always try to help God?
Yes.
I'm a Gentile. I always try to help God.
You're a gentle Gentile.
I don't know
So-
about the gentle part of it.
So then Nebuchadnezzar, in a furious rage, commanded that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought. So they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar answered and said to them, "Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image that I have set up? Now, if you are ready, when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, to fall down and worship the image that I have made, well and good. But if you do not worship, you shall immediately be cast into a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you out of my hands?" Is this poetry, guys?
It's got to be.
It's got to be
It's got to be
poetry.
lyrical.
Because it's like a song, isn't it? Because I bet you they sing this to you, you know? If you are ready, when you hear the sound of the horn and the pipe and the lyre and the trigon and harp and bagpipe and every...
So should they have been bowing out immediately as he's talking? Because they're singing.
It's got to be a song. It's got to be some sort of a poetry here because they keep doing it's just over and over, saying the same thing over and over and over. It's like the chorus.
I wonder if it is a piece of poetry that was probably older than the story, because poetry is actually older than narrative
Maybe.
storytelling, and they like worked that.
They worked it in.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
was thinking Mel Brooks while you did that.
Yeah. So, but if you do not worship, you shall immediately be cast into a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you out of my hands?
Little G, not big G.
But that's a big move. Now this
That is the same as what
He's gotta
Goliath
know.
was doing with David.
Did Daniel tell Nebuchadnezzar that these 3 Jews were under his control?
Of course, he asked. He asked for permission to do it. Remember?
Look at you reading context and remembering it.
It says he made a request of the king.
And the king said yes.
And he said yes.
So now he's forgotten it. How quick?
Just a
Maybe
couple years.
I mean, it's a couple years or even 5 years. I mean, just if somebody like
We
like
know that
Andy
his
said,
mental illness.
if somebody even
mentally
interpreted
ill.
his crazy dreams, he'd be like, "What?" You know, like that would mean something to you, right?
I would absolutely be impressed.
Would you follow my God?
That's pretty strong.
Damn.
Dude.
Woo.
Would you
him
at
to
least
think.
acknowledge that maybe there could have been a God that exists?
If I could read your mind and tell you everything about your thoughts, then would you be
I
like,
could read your
See,
mind.
reading your mind is different because you can kind of imply through extenuating
Not a dream.
circumstances, but dreams are crazy.
yes?
Dreams make no sense frequently at all. They're just random imagery smashed together and half forgotten.
Yes. But it's like, do you remember, like I said about the marshmallow sandwich, the only reason I did that, it's a callback to like, what is it, A Christmas Carol? What's the name of the Bah Humbug guy? What's his name?
Ebenezer
Ebenezer
Scrooge.
Scrooge. Do you remember whenever he sees the vision or he sees the ghost and he says, "You're just a piece of undigested beef"?
Yes.
You know, it's like our gut does affect our dreams. I mean, I think that's true. Wouldn't you agree, Andy?
Oh, I'm pretty sure that's absolutely
I also
true.
think the things that happen to you during the day.
What
and
did
whether or not you had
Nebuchadnezzar
any
eat,
alcohol.
man? Nebuchadnezzar had some Vienna sausages. All right, so
Well, I'm pretty sure it wasn't kosher.
right, and who is the God who will deliver you out of my hands? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter.
Notice that they don't grandstand like Daniel did earlier. There's no, oh, King of Kings and he who is over all men.
Yeah.
Well, just listen
There's
to how
like, oh,
cocky he's talking,
no.
though, as the king.
Oh, Nebuchadnezzar.
What God
They
is going
call
to
him-
deliver you.
They
Yes.
call him by his name.
Yes. They didn't say king. Ooh, that's good.
Hey,
They
Neb-
actually, that's good.
Hey, Nebby.
Don't call me
Yeah, Nebby
Kamala.
K, baby.
It's vice president.
But think about this. This is now he's a power tripping dude, right? He's got some power. Everybody has to bow down when they hear some bagpipes or whatever else the trigon is. And what do they say to him? Oh, Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. I'm smack you in the mouth talking to me like that.
Could you imagine being called by a subpoena to say, like, the Supreme Court?
Yeah.
And you go up and say, I'm sorry, Supreme Court Justice person. I'm not going to give a specific name, but I have no need to answer you.
Yep.
I mean, it would make that, and this guy's king over everything.
Yep.
That's just a judge.
Yep.
This guy's a king over, I mean, he has your power of your life and death in his hands, theoretically. Now, we all know who has
All
really
right,
in
so
control.
let's see how pissed off he gets. So, if this be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king.
There it is.
But here comes the magic.
But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. You like that one, right, Ralph?
That is my inspiration.
Yeah.
But even if he doesn't deliver,
That's
I will not bow down.
That's a
I'm
Mercy
staying
Me song.
faithful
Yeah.
to my God.
Even if the
Strong.
bad times come.
That's right.
So they have a lot of confidence in their God. Verse 19, then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with fury. So he's got rage and fury. And the expression of his face was changed against Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego. He ordered the furnace heated 7 times more than it was usually heated. And he ordered some of the mighty men of his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their cloaks, their tunics, their hats. I never noticed that they had hats on. And their other garments, and they were thrown into the burning fiery furnace. Because the king's order was urgent and the furnace overheated, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell bound into the burning fiery furnace.
And this isn't the first time this has happened, talking about repetition.
Recapitulation?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
This happened in another story in an apocryphal book.
Oh, really?
Yes. It happened to Abraham in Jasher.
Ah, okay.
The same story.
He was thrown in the fire?
He was thrown in a fire
How about that? We need to read Jasher someday.
for not worshiping idols.
Ah. So it's kind of like this theme. It's just over.
Because we don't learn our lesson. We have to hear it.
So what
over
are our
and
golden
over
idols
and-
today? Like, what are we doing? What are
Cars, watches, toys, guitars. I mean,
Social media.
Name the
What was that? What was that idol
Fame.
thing?
Everything
with,
that you don't need.
we? American Idol?
Anything besides food and protection and shelter and God and love and your family. Come on now.
What was-
Everything
you
we
think that-
buy, just about.
we used that
Do you
word.
think that guitar is an idol? Do you think that a paintbrush is an idol?
If that's what you do for a living, no. But if you just buy a
But
bunch
if
of
you just do
paintbrushes
it for
to have them.
enjoyment, then it's an idol.
Well, I don't
No.
know that if you do it just for enjoyment, but if you're just doing it to
so
collect
at
stuff.
what point does
You
it
guys-
become an idol?
So now you have to define how an idol becomes an idol.
Right, there you go.
Mhm. So what is it?
what
what
was
is
that?
that?
What was that word you? It
Look how
wasn't
many
idol, but it
paintbrushes
was
I
another
have.
word.
Iconolatry?
Iconolatry.
That's one of the seven deadly sins, bragging about your possessions, but it has nothing to do with what possessions they happen to
So
be.
in essence, Ralph, but I see where you're going with this. Like if you have somebody that, okay, so let's use my business as an example. Okay. I know some people that their entire identity is wrapped up in their business and wrapped up in the money that they make in the business. And it becomes their sole purpose in life to make sure that it succeeds. You know, I think that And if it takes your mind away from your family, it takes your mind away from your faith or whatever it might be, then it could be an idol to you. You could enjoy it. But I think it's how it affects other people that makes it idolatry. Possibly.
I would think it would have to be something that you revered specifically in sort of a pseudo-religious or religious manner.
Well, I mean,
I think it's something that takes your eyes off God.
I mean, in this story, Nebuchadnezzar is making people bow down to this image that he made. So that's
clear.
pseudo-religious, whatever.
Yeah.
But as far as for me, whenever I was a kid and I loved listening to Jimi Hendrix and he was an icon of mine, I didn't necessarily worship him
In that way.
but I spent a lot of time wanting to know how to play Little Wing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I spent a lot of my time doing it. Anyway, but for these three fellas in their hats, they get thrown into this burning fiery furnace, and it's so hot, 7 times hotter, and that it burns the guys up that are throwing them in them, and they are down in this. And so Nebuchadnezzar, it says, verse 24, then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished and rose up in haste. He declared to his counselors, did we not cast 3 men bound into the fire? They answered and said to the king, true, O king. He answered and said, but I see 4 men unbound, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the appearance of the 4th is like a son of the gods. I wonder what that looked like. Did you hear that?
The 4th?
They threw 3 men in, but when Nebuchadnezzar looks, he sees a 4th man.
And that was the
and
rock.
that 4th one looks like a son of the gods.
There was another in the fire.
Yeah. So who's this? Who's this guy that's in the fire?
It makes me think
he looks like the son of God.
It makes me think of a flame image of a man, really.
Yeah, right. Yeah, what does it look like? So then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the door of the burning fiery furnace. He declared, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and that would have been a good time to be like, no, why don't you come up in here? We have nothing to talk about with this matter.
Come closer, Nebuchadnezzar.
I'm sorry. That's kind of interesting that he goes up to the door, that the men threw the 3 men in, and it's like it's already cooled down.
Yeah, maybe so.
From time.
Or he's looking from a distance where he's not having to sit right up in the front of it. But he's
says
not
he
getting burned.
He came near the door.
Yep, he came near the door. I mean, maybe
That could be in relation to where he was to begin with.
Yep,
absolutely.
Could be. So
Don't know.
then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out from the fire, and the satraps, the prefects, the governors, and the king's counselors gathered together and saw that the fire had not had any power over the bodies of these men, of those men.
One more thing I would say is when he talks to those 3, he says, which one of the gods will save you? And when he announces himself to them, he says, to the Most High God.
Yes.
That's a
Yahweh.
That's a huge
Jehovah.
different. It's like he's either riddled with dementia or mental illness or something.
Bipolar.
Yeah, could be. But
Yeah.
it's like, he knows what he knows, but he's not standing on what he knows.
He's a narcissist. Has anybody ever been gaslit before?
My whole life.
There you go. So the hair of their heads was not singed, their cloaks were not harmed, and no smell of fire had come upon them.
And I find this fascinating because if we light the fire pit in our backyard,
Yep.
it doesn't matter where I sit around it, the smoke comes my way and I smell like a deadgum chimney.
I know.
Well, the good thing about that is it keeps the bugs away when you got the smoke on
That's
you.
true.
Yeah,
but I
'cause
don't
they can't breathe
But I
either.
can't smell like it. I don't like the smell of it. But they were in the middle of it.
But
Nothing.
a lot of times, like when we cook like meat or bacon or something in the house, like I'll cook it because the smell of it will get into my wife's hair. And it's the same with the fire outside. If we're sitting outside and we go inside, I feel like the fire just followed us in the house. But these guys didn't smell like a fire at all.
Not a bit.
Nope. I wonder
I
what they
bet the
smelled
3
like.
dead guys did.
Burning
So anyway,
flesh.
verse 28, Nebuchadnezzar answered and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him and set aside the king's command and yielded up their, he's saying blessed are these guys for setting aside the king's command.
He
And
said, "Blessed be the God," not "blessed be the guys."
Right. Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who had sent his angel. So now that son of the gods he's saying is an angel, and delivered his servants who trusted in him and set aside the king's command and yielded up their bodies rather than serve and worship any god except their own God. Therefore, I make a decree. Any people, nation, or language that speaks anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be torn limb from limb, and their houses laid in ruins, for there is no other God who is able to rescue in this way. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. So evidently, whatever Daniel had made them wasn't the highest honor, I guess.
And where was Daniel during
Where's
all this?
Daniel during all this? Exactly. Where's he at?
Maybe he was sent out on official king
chilling
business.
at the crib.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, he's going to have his moments later, but in this one, he's nowhere to be found. Did he bow down? I'd like to think not.
It doesn't say he did, so I'm going to have to say no on that.
It doesn't say he did, so it would be assumed that Daniel's nowhere to be found.
And the four of them,
I think he's not there.
the four of them go together,
Yep.
and where one goes, we all go, or whatever. And I just don't think that Daniel knew more than they did.
Yeah.
The Bible says in the first chapter, if you remember back,
Yeah.
he was given special knowledge by God.
Yeah.
And I don't think he can forget that, like Nebuchadnezzar seems to be forgetting.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think if he was in town that he would have bowed down. He would have also been, there would have been a fifth one in the fire.
Right.
But I mean, the Bible doesn't say so. We shouldn't make
But
a
there
whole
is
big
the
deal about
distinct
it.
difference that Daniel is not in chapter 3.
He is not there.
He's gone.
Which is
And
curious.
God's protection is over Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
That's right.
But God's protection in this case is not over Daniel. It will be in the future, but not
In this
in
particular
this
case.
particular
Unless
case.
this chapter is out of order, which is be the only thing that would be that this was technically a late chapter past Daniel.
I
think we have to keep it closer
Yep.
to the dream chapter, because I think the two statues are not exclusive of one another. I really think we have to keep those two statues or
Yep.
some kind of correlation.
I think you have
I don't
to.
know. It doesn't have to be a year or 2 years. The timeline that I was given could be wrong. Nobody knows. I don't know. I wasn't there.
But you would assume that the gold statue and the golden image would be linked. And also the fact that it mentions in chapter 2 that Daniel had put the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of Babylon. So to look over the affairs of Babylon. So this means whatever Nebuchadnezzar has done, Daniel's not there to see this. He elevates these three men. And it's that now it's being seen by the king and not by Daniel doing it, right? Daniel put these other ones in charge, and that's what these other men are mad about. These Jews are ruling us. They're not doing what they're supposed to. We don't like it. What's all this power that they've got? And then now Nebuchadnezzar saying, not only did I put Daniel in power, but now I'm putting these three in power. So now you got 4 men that are Jew that are in power in Babylon. So that's quite remarkable as far as the Bible story is concerned. So I'm sure there's more to it, but I think let's wrap there.
This episode is brought to you by Supply Chain Solutions.
Supply Chain Solutions is a third-party logistics company providing small to mid-sized businesses an outstanding option focusing on warehouse management, customization of products, assembly and packaging of goods, and has the ability to meet business-to-business and business-to-consumer fulfillment needs. Supply Chain Solutions continually strive to be their customers' most highly valued partners for quality, delivery, responsiveness, and customer service. To learn more about Supply Chain Solutions, you can visit their website at www.supplychainsolutions3pl.com. That's www.supplychainsolutions3pl.com.
And now back to the show.
But I would like one thing to
Yeah.
do for a tag. I would like to have somebody explain chiastic structure for a tag, because I'm dying.
Yeah, so she did that once before,
Yeah.
but let me pull it up.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's in our text thread, and there's not a whole lot of messages after it. So
Yeah.
you should be able to find it pretty easy.
Oh, no, I want it for the pod.
Well, I got you.
Yeah. I mean, for me, too, but we've talked about chiastic structure a lot without actually defining
So
it
a
on air.
chiastic structure is kind of done after the Greek letter chi, which is X, but so they take the one side of the X, if you will, which kind of makes an inverted, a greater than sign. If you know your math, your greater than sign. And so,
Or the alligator.
or yeah. So
Back
the
then.
2 points of that alligator, or the greater than sign portion of the X, those two things correlate to one another. And then as you move down towards the middle point, these books. So in this case, it's Daniel 2 and Daniel 7, right? And then Daniel 3 and Daniel 6, and then Daniel 4 and Daniel 5. And they're all sort of related by the same theme. And it's a literary structure that Greeks and Aramaic people and apparently Hebraic people used to tell a story.
Okay.
So if to give you a really good because it really confused me. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read the Philippians 2 chiasm. Okay. So in the New Testament, Paul wrote the letter to the church in Philippi, and there happens to be a chiastic little poem that he writes in it, okay? Verses 7 and 8 in chapter 2. And it says verses 7a and 8c correspond, as do verses 7b and 8b and verses 7c and 8a. So 7a, being made nothing, and 8c, death on a cross, 7b, being a servant, 8b. So here's how it works. If I do, if I'm going to do 7, 7, 7, verse 7, A, B, C, would be being made nothing, being a servant in human likeness. Okay? So if you imagine being made nothing, being a servant, human likeness.
Yep.
Then we go to A, and then it says death on a cross. Oh, I'm sorry, human appearance, humble obedience, death on a cross. That's not working.
I'm going to need
red
red string.
It goes
So
backwards.
it
It goes backwards.
It goes backwards.
It goes
You gotta-
backwards.
So where that last one would have been, that first one. So yeah.
So being made nothing, death on a cross, being a servant, humble obedience, human likeness, human appearance.
Correct.
Death on the cross would be back at the be made nothing. So it goes down and comes back.
That's right. I'm sure that helped you.
So for
No,
instance,
that makes a little sense.
Daniel
It's
2.
not super clear. But so it's not necessarily about chronological events.
In Daniel, they're
it's
not.
about opposing. It's about themes.
It's about themes.
It's about themes,
Yes,
yes.
it's about the idea. Like humility would be part. If you let's say you have a 6 or a 7 position chiastic structure, and position 2 talks about humility. Well, when you go down to position 5, I said it was a 7. So you go to position 6, it would be exaltation. So now you have humbleness, but then exalted. And they're the same ideas, like the way that you look at yourself or the way that people look at you, humble or exalted.
So if you think about the book we're currently reading, if you try to read it chronologically in this point, you'd have Nebuchadnezzar, and then we go to what? Cyrus or Darius?
Darius the Mede.
And then you go to Cyrus, and then you go back to Darius. And you wait, what? Darius ruled, is that Darius II?
Right. It
When it's the
confuses
same,
you.
You're like, wait, that doesn't belong. But when you look at it, chapter 2 was about Gentile history. Chapter 3 was about protection, and then we just read that with Shadrach. Then we're going to go into chapter 4, which is Revelation to a Gentile king. And then chapter 5 is also Revelation to a Gentile king. And then we're going back down that second leg of the X. Then we're going back to protection, which is going to be Daniel in the Lion's Den, chapter 6. And then Gentile history once again in chapter 7. And
See how they're kind of correlating down?
chiasm.
okay.
Yeah, so you got the alligator and you got the bird.
I don't. Bob Cruikshank did a recent thing on our portal, Burros of the Bria.
You're talking about Crookshank's Corner?
Yes, Crookshank's
Like an
Corner.
article?
Yes, he did an article. And in one of his articles that he wrote about, one of the things that they did back in the day was part of their literary writing was that they would reverse order of words or phrases. Mm-hmm. And when they reversed the order of a phrase, it was, as it's written in that literary language, it was a callback to the original writers.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, I remember that.
So that almost comes into the same chiastic thing. When they reversed it, it was being more significant about the order of when you'd say it's a terrible butcher of the thing, but say the words "I love you," but then you reverse it and you love I.
Uh-huh.
It's terrible butcher, but you understand when you reverse the words, it's like a callback. It's making significance of that phrase, and it seems like the chiastic structure, which it's reversing the original order of the writing in that way, or the imagery of it.
Yep.
It's like making it significant.
Yeah, I feel like we need to put a little bit more effort into this, because I think it's obviously written in this way. So let's try to get a good grasp of what's happening.
Did I confuse you really bad, Andy?
I mean, the whole thing is a little confusing.
It is.
I have gotten a picture. I mean, this has been helpful. Absolutely. This has been helpful.
Yeah.
But I'll probably look up a definition myself to see if
The word
it
is
being worded
chiasm.
a different way.
Chiasm.
And you can find several images as well where somebody has taken books, not just books of the Bible, but they generally,
anything,
but you can go look and they'll have them put on the X, put on that little.
Yeah, and if you see those, that would be helpful. If you see the picture, then you can actually you see how that
it helps-
works. The
helps,
reference,
the visual helps.
Yeah,
that makes
so it's
sense.
kind of like, and Esther had something similar too. Esther had some of that weird kind of literary devices in it too. Pretty interesting.
Well, you kept talking about when the Lord was spelled forward, it meant
right.
favor for the Jews.
Favor
When the
for the
Lord was
Jews.
spelled backwards, it was
Favor for the
destruction
Gentiles.
for the Jews.
That's right. That was the reverse word. We did that in Esther.
Oh, do we?
So, this has been fun. I mean, we're still learning, but man.
Learning is hard.
Yeah, it's just like you kind of wish that you were raised a Hebrew so you could understand the Hebrew mind. For me, I wish I was. Well, no, that's not what I mean. I don't want to. I'm happy with my nationality. I'm just saying I wish I had the same understanding of their language that they do.
It would help. Yeah,
It
sure.
would. Yeah, absolutely.
For
Sarita,
this.
thanks so much for all your help.
Yeah, you betcha.
So great. Behind the glass, Mr. Andy Bishop. Thank
It's
you so much.
me.
Andrew AAB.
Ab.
Andrew Ab.
Ab.
AABAB. ABAB.
Abe.
Ralph, thanks so much. Big Daddy.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody get home safe. And we will talk to you guys again next. Oh, wait, I got a joke.
Oh, no.
My wife gave it to me
She
today.
sure did.
What is Forrest Gump's password on his computer?
I have no idea.
Chocolate.
That would have been a good one. Anybody think of anything else?
Shrimp.
I had said Jenny, but all of those were wrong. It's one Forrest one. That was my wife. Good job, babe.
It was
Good
awesome.
job, Holly.
That was literally my mom's password on a laptop at one point. I'm not lying.
We will talk to you guys again next time on the Burros of Berea. Peace out.
Bye, y'all.
Later.
Bye.
Hey guys, this is Rick from the Burros of Berea. A lot of people have been asking us, hey, what is this Patreon thing? Our old Patreon ad didn't work very well. So here you go, guys. Go to www.patreon. That is patreon.com. Let me do that again. patreon.com/the Burros of Berea. If you go to the Patreon page, you will find that we have different levels that you can give at. We have a $3 level, a $5 level. We've got a $10 level and a $20 level. I thought about putting a $1,000 level there, but you never know how that's going to work out, right, Andy? That's right. So go to www.patreon.com/the Burros of Berea and give us all of your money.
Even a little bit will be fine.
Yeah. And that 5,000 wouldn't hurt me either.
No, it would hurt nobody.
Thanks, guys. That's when Ryan and Emily met 8 years ago.
That was the first thing that we did. That's the first gig we did together.
That's crazy, man. That's
Wow, I
super
can't
crazy,
believe it's
bro.
that long ago.
8 years.
Oh my word!
I'm doing a remake.
Is
It'll
that,
be
is that
Stillwater.
dating you, Ralph?
Still.
Yeah.
Is that dating you out?
We should do steel water, like STIHL, and it's like swimming underwater with
Mount
chainsaws.
Rushmore.
I was thinking more like a whiskey still.
With still water.
Still water.
Did you help pick the noses on the
Starring Popcorn Sutton.
Yeah.
But anyway.
A dramatic movie starring.
Hey, if you want to
Popcorn
see some stuff on Popcorn Sutton, just go
Hey,
to
somebody got
Binion's.
my lick. We just went there.
Yes.
Binion's has the still, the
just
last still.
figured-
I
He
went by that
just-
thing like a million times and didn't even realize it was his still.
Oh yeah,
had no idea.
I think that was his last one.
It was. Yep. He said, ain't got no liquor because some whatever and had me caught.
Yeah.
Yep. He had a tragic end, didn't he?
He had a wonderful life, though.
You think? I hear he was kind of I'm searching for a word
Turd?
that's not a swear.
Why? Because he gave his kid away?
No, because he was just kind of a mean, ornery guy.
Yeah.
Well, you live by yourself long enough, you're going to be a mean, ornery guy.
I think you might be getting cause and effect mixed up, but close enough.
I think that hanging around a bunch of mash is probably not good for your
Eats
brain.
your brain, yeah.
Yeah. Constantly making like
The fumes, yeah, that can't
The
be
mash?
good. Yeah, the fumes of it when they're cooked.
And you never saw him without a cigarette in his hand, like ever. He was always like he was a chain smoker.
Isn't
He
it
was
funny?
kind of like the guy, the dad and grumpy old man that ate bacon all the time. He's kind of like the same thing. He's like, he did everything that you shouldn't do, and he
there's-
lived a long time.
Some people that just have those genetics, and they can just they just smoke till they're 250 years old. they eat nothing but hot dogs 24 hours a day, and they're like fine.
Because they're preserved.
Some people are just like that. Though. Some people
Skinny.
just have that constitution.
Isn't that wild?
Well, when you look on the label of some of those cans, and see that these things last you 200 years, this guy's just been preserved.
Yeah, that's crazy. Are we rolling, Andy? All right.